Hello, your Tech Admin here, and today we're going to be building a budget PC. I had a spare Dell motherboard laying around. This is a Dell G33M02, as you can see right there. It came out of a Dell Inspiron 530S. It's a really middle of the road motherboard, and it had a Intel Pentium dual core processor in it, but I've since upgraded that to a Core 2 Duo. And on top of that, I've got a spare hard drive I had here. It's just an 80 gig Samsung drive, a DVD drive that I had laying around, spare set of cables, a faceplate. The 530S actually didn't come with a removable I/O shield, so what I ended up having to do was find another Dell computer that had the same motherboard. Actually, it isn't the same motherboard. It was a revision newer, and that was actually the Inspiron 535S, or 545S, excuse me, as you can see there. So if you're looking for an I/O shield for a Inspiron 530S or just the regular 530 motherboard, the 545S I/O shield will fit that motherboard. So I found that and ordered one of those. And I have here a couple gigs of G.Skill RAM, nothing too fancy there. A Logisys 550 watt power supply, which I will admit is entirely overkill for this project, but again, it was something I had laying around, so why not use it. And I bought a cheap Rosewheel case. It's FBM 01, as you can see there. I like to think the model number stands for Facebook Machine 01, but that case was only about $30. So I haven't actually really looked at it yet. I mean, I opened the box and kind of pulled it out to make sure everything was intact, but we'll see how it goes putting everything into it. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so I've unboxed the case. All you get is the manual, which is very short and to the point. You know, it's just got the basic stuff you need to know about the case, as well as the I/O for the front panel. So not much there, and the case itself, which seems decent. It's got a glossy front, which I know is going to attract a lot of fingerprints. I rather like the power button. It's nice and clicky. And you know, aside from that, you got a reset button here, and two USB here. Oop, two USB ports here, and a microphone and headphone, as well as floppy or media card reader, as well as the 5.5-inch base for DVD drives and what have you. The case feels solid, but not very high quality. Definitely not as good as the more expensive cases, but for this project it will absolutely do the job. So next I'm going to go ahead and unbox the power supply. I'm skipping the unboxings because, let's face it, unboxings are boring, so prepare for a jump cut while I get this unboxed. So the power supply came with even less stuff than the case did. It was literally just the power supply itself and a power cable, no manual or anything, so that's rather odd. But here's the data sheet on the side of the power supply for anybody interested. I don't know if you can read that or not, hopefully you can. It's a cheap power supply, so I don't expect much out of it, but it is 550 watts, so at least we won't have any power issues. Got a rather big fan on the side of it. It's supposed to be ball bearing, I think, so hopefully that'll provide it pretty adequate cooling. As for connections go, we have the 6-pin auxiliary for graphics cards, SATA power, let's see, bunch of Molex, as well as floppy disk. We also have the two different types of auxiliary power for the CPU, and the standard ATA motherboard with the removable bit for the older ones. So that's nice that they included that, I guess. Yeah, so that's about it for the power supply. I'm going to go ahead and get it and the motherboard mounted in the case, and I'll see you then. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and install the RAM first. Nothing special here. It's 2 gigs of PC2 6400 DDR2 RAM, matched pair. Here's the data, you can see that. Like I said, nothing too fancy here. Go ahead and pop this in real quick. this one. And there you go. Nothing to it. Okay, so I got the I/O shield mounted in the back of the case. It was a rather pain in the neck. You know, most I/O shields don't go in that easily anyway, but this one was especially frustrating because the back of this case is fairly flexible, so I'd push it to try to snap it in place, and the case would just kind of flex and it wouldn't snap in place. But after a fair bit of persuasion, I finally got it in there. So next is the power supply and the motherboard. So on to that. Forgot to mention that the case did include a baggie of screws and standoffs and a PC speaker, surprisingly enough. Most cases do come with the screws and the standoffs, but not all of them come with a PC speaker, so that was surprising to see. But yeah, nothing too exciting there. Onto the motherboard. Alright, so I got the motherboard in. I had a little bit of trouble with the standoffs not wanting to snug down really well. And you know, I grabbed my pliers and snugged them down, and they'd come loose when I went to thread the screws in. So I'd have to take the motherboard out again and re-snug the standoffs and then put the screw back in. And after a little bit of back and forth with that, though, I got the motherboard in, and it's actually one of the easier motherboards, or one of the easier cases to install a motherboard in. So I guess that's a plus. And there's a little bit more of the cheap feeling to the case when I was mounting it. The back panel back here would flex quite a bit when I was tightening the screws down, but overall nothing too bad. So next I'm going to go ahead and put the power supply in. Okay, so I got the power supply installed. That was fairly easy, and I've started my cable management. And I've also, I don't know if you can see, probably not, oh, there we go. I've started wiring up the front panel, or I've wired up the front panel, and the USB and the audio here, so that's all wired up. So the only things really left to do are some simple cable management and installing the hard drive and CD drive, so, or DVD-ROM drive. So I shall get to that next. Okay, so I got the drives in, got everything wired up, got all the wire management done, and I booted up into BIOS off camera, and I noticed that this fan here, actually not that fan, but this fan, the case fan that was in there, there's something wrong with it. It won't spin up. Basically, I'll turn it on, and it'll do post, and the fan will spin when it posts it, when it tests the fans. Focus. Okay. Anyway, it'll post, or when it does the fan test and post, the fan will spin. But then once they idle back down, the fan freezes up, and if I tap it, it'll spin at a really low speed for a little while, and then it freezes up again. So I'm not sure quite what's wrong with the fan, but I mean, for how much I paid for this case, I didn't really expect much. I had a spare fan here. It's a bit of a more low profile fan, but it's working correctly, so not having any trouble with that. And it's definitely not the it's not the motherboard turning the fan off, because this one runs continuously even after post, just at a very low speed. And I guess this one just not as good quality, because the fan was definitely freezing up basically. So now that that's done, I think we're gonna boot it up into Windows for the first time and test the front panel lights and the reset and the power and the front USB and audio. Make sure all of that's working. So here we go. Okay, I tried to get it so that you could see both the front panel and the screen at the same time, and my Wii U's kind of sandwiched in the middle, so just ignore it. But here we go. Okay, so the power switch works, the power LED works, the hard drive indicator, which is on the reset button, which is weird. I think I saw it flash, but we'll see in a second. Yep, it's working. So that's all of that working properly. Now we gotta wait and boot in Windows and see if the USB, and the audio is working. If all of that's working, then we are done with the build. Okay, yeah, it did detect it. Just didn't pop up and say anything about it. There it is. And there you can see that one's working. Now we'll try the other one. If one's working, the other one should be working, obviously, but yep, okay, so that's working. And now I shall test the audio. I don't have speakers, so just have to test it with headphones. So I don't know if you could hear that or not. Alright, it might have blown your ears out, so sorry about that. But the audio is in fact working, so that's everything working. So that means this computer build is officially done. So I ran the performance test and it scored a 3.2, the lowest being the desktop error performance, and basically it's the graphics is what the weak point is. So I'm going to pop in my old graphics card that I don't have any use for. It's a GeForce GT 430 1 gig DDR3. So I figured this will probably speed things up quite a bit, and I don't have any use for it, so why not put it to a good home. So I got the graphics card installed and it bumped it up to a 4.9, the lowest component being the processor. Now it bumped the graphics up to 6.6 for both graphics and gaming graphics. And I went ahead and I put a little stopper over the onboard VGA so that he wouldn't accidentally plug it into the wrong spot. I think it's Monitor Sports DVI, so I'll probably give him a DVI cable so we can get a better video signal. But yeah, that just about does it for this project. I'm actually done this time. No more additions. This is it. I had a lot of fun doing this project, and I look forward to doing more builds like this in the future. And obviously, I'll record them and post them for you guys to see too. So until next time, guys, take it easy.